Hello, everyone. So we are gonna try to solve this equation. But before we do this, I will try to show you how we can actually drive the sum to product or product to sum identities by using our angle sum. So, but not for all, but I will just use for the cosine for now. Okay. So like the others will be the same idea anyway, so you can handle this on your own. Okay. So the first things we want to remember, when you have, let's say, the sum of two angles, and if you want to take the sum, so we've seen this before, this was equal to cosine A times cosine B minus the sine A times sine B. And I highly recommend you to prove this on your own by using sine if you never did this before. So similarly, we had cosine of A minus B was almost the same, except the sign in the middle is plus. So like the goal is just to find a relation between the sum of cosines and the product of the cosines. Okay, that's the goal. And let me see what we can do. Like what we can do, like if I wanna like find a relation between the product, so I can either cancel this one by this one, or I cancel this by this one by adding or subtracting. So based on what you look for. So since I'm interested in finding the angle sum, I mean the sum of the cosines, I'm gonna subtract this equation from the first equation. So when I subtract this equation, the left side will be cosine of A plus B and minus cosine of A minus B. And if you subtract, so this guy is the same as this guy with the negative sign. So this is gonna be 0. And then this is gonna be negative. So this was already negative. So we have two copies of the sine A and sine B. But make sure that's -2, okay? So this is something, but I like to have this A plus B is a bit better than this because I am looking for difference of the cosine. And to do so, I'm going to do some sort of like manipulation, like substitution, I would say. So instead of A plus B, I'm going to choose, let's say this is equal to X. And instead of A minus B, let's say this is equal to Y. When I do this, the left side will be cosine of X minus cosine of Y, okay? But the right side, I need to know the A and B, which I don't know, but I can easily find the A and B. If I add these to the equation, the B's will cancel. So you got 2A equals X plus Y, and divided by 2, A will be X plus Y over 2. So then that will be -2 times the sine X plus Y over 2. And for B, if I want to find the B, maybe I should subtract the second equation from this. So that will cancel the A's. That will be 2B equals X minus Y, and then B will be X minus Y over 2. So that is now sine X minus Y over 2. And this is one of the identities that we have. I don't really want you to kind of remember this one. Just know what we do to get this when we need. And this is basically what we can do a bit faster. So the difference of two cosine functions is basically same as -2 times sine of the sum of those two angles, like this is X plus Y, over 2 times sine of the difference between those two angles. And if you want to find the relation with the sum or maybe sine as well, so you can take a look at those by using similar approach. But let's stop for now. So this is the identity I'll use in our question. So the question was asking, solve this equation in between 0 to 2 pi radians. So that's the goal. And I'll just pull everything one side as my first step. So the sine of theta plus 1 minus cosine theta equals 0. But this is sine, this is cosine, and then we don't have any identity that is involved both. So we should have either like sine, sine, or cosine, cosine. So since I just proved this one, maybe I should use the cosine, cosine. But this is already cosine, but this is not. So I need to change this one. And then one of the basic identities that we remember was the sine of something is equal to cosine of pi over 2 minus that something. Okay, so this is what we are going to use. And if you remember, this is what we used to get this ident in the first place by using angle sum with sine. Okay, so now I'm going to change this number, this function sign as the cosine, because I like cosine both. So the cosine of pi over 2 minus theta plus 1 is minus cosine theta is equal to 0. I hope that's clear. So basically, this angle, whatever this angle, is just subtracted from the pi over 2. So when you do have such an angle, the cosine value of the angle is the same as sine of this angle, okay? So that's something. So now I can use my identity that we just got it. So it says the difference between two cosine, which what we have, is equal to, so the left side would be -2 times sine of the sum of those two angles. Okay, so the sine of this whole thing plus the theta. So I'm going to write it as 1, so pi over 2 minus theta minus 1. So I expand this plus this theta. And this is all over 2 times the sine of their difference. So this guy is pi over 2 minus theta minus 1. And I should subtract this one, which is minus theta over 2. So look at the left part. So, this is theta. This is minus theta. They will be gone. And this was equal to 0. So let's see if we can clean this mess a bit. So -2 times. So pi over 2 minus 1, but there's like 2 as well. So pi over 2 divided by 2 is pi over 4. And then minus 1 over 2. So I can write it as this way. Times, for this part, we have pi minus theta, minus 1 minus theta, and all over divided by 2. So we should cancel that somehow. This is, let me write it as well. The sine of pi over 2 minus 2 theta minus 1 divided by 2 is the same as pi over 4. And then minus 2 theta divided by 2 is just minus theta and minus 1 over 2. Okay, and then this is equal to 0. Okay, so the question now, we are given that this sine function and this sine function, when you multiply, you get equal to 0. Like when this is possible. So let's think about when the sine value is 0. So that is gonna tell us what we are gonna basically look for. So the first thing we can say is basically the sine value might be 0, because sine 0 is 0, or sine pi is 0. So from there, so we can go ahead and find those. So the pi over 4 minus 1 over 2 is equal to 0 degrees, but we are interested in radians. So I'm going to say still 0 radian plus 2k pi. So when you add any multiple of that, so you should be getting the same result. So let me double check. Actually, we don't have to solve this equation because the left side right here doesn't have any data anymore, because our goal was to get the angle measure of data, but this guy doesn't have it. So even though I said this is going to be equal to 0, but there is no way actually to get this one. So that's why there is nothing from that expression, because there is no data, and then this number is not 0 or pi. So that means you can just ignore this one. Or if you don't want to ignore, you can just divide both sides by this number, because this is going to give you a number. So that will cancel, because 0 divided by that number is also 0. So only thing we have to think about is the other sine function. So the pi over 4 minus pi minus 1 over 2. This could be 0 plus 2k pi, or, okay, so that could be pi plus 2k pi. So we just need to solve for the data. That's what we are interested. So maybe I can just subtract pi over 4 and add 1 over 2 to both sides. So that will give us negative data is equal to negative pi over 4 plus 1 over 2 plus 2k pi. Or if I want to do the same thing with the other part, so negative data will be equal to pi minus pi over 4 plus 1 over 2 plus 2k pi. The reason why I'm just adding this because if there's some negative numbers from the other part of the expression, so we should add 2 pi to get something still smaller than 2 pi. If I don't write this number right here, I may miss the solution. So now as a last steps, I should take this guy and then get this negative by multiplying or divide by -1. So the data would be pi over 4 minus 1 over 2 minus 2k pi, or, so this is basically 3 over 4 pi, but if you multiply by negative, so you should be getting negative 3/4 pi minus 1/2 minus 2k pi. And the rest is just plugging like k's, like you can choose k's like 0, like if k is 0, and then you are going to get this guy is gone, so pi over 4 minus 1/2, whatever that number is going to be your one solution for data. And if you choose k is 2, and then you are going to get the result, but it is going to be a negative number, which can't be answered. And if you try k is -1, so to see if there is another solution, and I'll leave that for you to explore, okay? So, and the same thing going on the right side, so you just plug k equals 0, 1, and -2. You don't want to do 2 or -2 because that will be a bit larger than 2 pi for sure, or lesser than like 0, so which we don't need it in our question. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, and I highly recommend you to do this process on your own and see if you can handle this as well. But that's basically what we can do with this problem. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.